I've been selling real estate in the DC metro area for over 10 years. I've worked in Alexandria, Reston, Kingstown, Fairfax, and all across Northern Virginia. McLean breaks every single rule that I know. Starter homes over $1 million, torn down immediately. $30 million estates, closing all cash. And that's just a regular Tuesday. But here's what almost no one is actually telling you about McLean, and that's the real reason it's one of America's most expensive zip codes, and it has nothing to do with what you think it does. Stay with me. I'm going to break it all down. Hi, I'm Akil Atkins with the Air Group in Keller Williams, and I specialize in the Northern Virginia DC metro market. And every week, I'm bringing you the inside read on communities that matter most to relocation buyers and high net worth professionals moving into this region. If you're considering a move to the DC area, or if you're already here and wondering what your next real estate move looks like, you're in the right place. Today, we're doing a deep dive on McLean, Virginia. I've covered McLean before, and I'll continue to do so, but this one's a little bit different. We're talking about new developments, the dining scene that has legitimately leveled up in the past few years, and what the ultra luxury sales data actually looks like, and why the smart money keeps coming to McLean and is going to keep doing so year after year in the future. Let's get into it. Let's start with who's actually moving here, because the buyer profile in McLean is unlike anywhere else in the Northern Virginia market. Your typical McLean buyer is a high-income professional. Think government official with senior level clearance, corporate executives, diplomats, defense contractors, foreign nationals, with the CIA headquarters literally next door in Langley and both Tyson's Corner and downtown DC with a short drive. McLean draws people operating at the highest levels of government and business. That's not marketing language. This is just what the data shows when you look at who's closing here. Families prioritizing top-rated schools, a secure suburban environment are a huge part of this market. And affluent retirees and those who are looking to move in are drawn by the safety, the green space, the private clubs, the golf courses, and the access to luxury retail without having to fight city traffic. But here's the thesis that most people miss. McLean buyers are not shopping for a house. They're making a calculated investment in a formula that doesn't exist anywhere else in the DC metro area. Top-ranked schools that have been elite for over 40 years. Land inside the Beltway, 8 miles from the White House, that simply can't be replicated anymore. And you have a CIA-driven demand floor that never really goes away. And a community culture that quietly attracts the most influential people in the world. You put all these things together and you realize why McLean has appreciated in the way that it has, and why that's unlikely to change. Now let me give you a lay of the land on pricing, because the range here is genuinely unlike anywhere else that I work. For single-family homes, prices span from roughly $1 million at the entry level up to $27 million and beyond at the top. The average sales price sits around $3.1 million. Homes are typically moving in about 25 to 39 days, and this is important because there are some that are still receiving many multiple offers, and even those in the mid-tier range. At the $1 million entry point, you have to understand what you're actually buying. You're looking at a 1,500 or so-ish square foot ranch, maybe a rambler, that most buyers are going to tear down. And that's completely intentional. In McLean, you're not buying the structure, you're buying irreplaceable land. Established trees, strict zoning, and an address 8 miles from downtown DC. The house happens to be what you build after you secured the most important part. As you move up into the $5 million plus tier, you're typically seeing close to an acre of land or more, 5 to 6 plus bedrooms, and buyers with the kind of purchasing power that makes mortgage rates a secondary consideration. Out of the 18 homes that have sold above $5 million in the past 6 months, 15 of those were all cash transactions. Just sit with that for a second. Townhomes range from around $900,000 to $2.1 million, averaging around $1.3 million. And yes, there is also a condo market. In addition to older garden-style condos, there is a huge boom of high-rise and new development buildings with monthly fees in the thousands, comparable to what you'd see in places like New York City. But the size of these buildings, the caliber of these amenities, and the level of service and on-site staffing demand it. Now, I want to put some real transactions on the table because the numbers at the top of the market are really extraordinary. In October 2024, 700 Bulls Neck Road sold for $25.5 million. They call it the Cliffs. It's a 32,785 square foot new construction estate built in 2022, sitting on 5 acres with phenomenal views of the Potomac River. You've got 8 bedrooms, 15 bathrooms, a wine cellar holding 3,000 bottles, an indoor basketball court, and a garage that doubles as a ballroom for up to 22 cars. Not to mention an infinity pool that overlooks the water. It was the headline luxury sale of the year in all of Northern Virginia. In January 2025, 1150 Chainbridge Road in Langley Farms sold, and that was a 14,421 square foot estate, which sold for $17.5 million. 6 bedrooms, 7 full baths, and several half baths. In addition, in Langley Farms in September 2025, 221 Chainbridge Road closed at exactly $15 million. This was a more intimate 5,500 square foot property at a legacy address and still all in at this price point. They're not outliers. This is the McLean market doing exactly what it does, setting comps that reset the ceiling for all of Northern Virginia. Now, this is where it gets exciting for buyers and investors who are paying attention right now, because there are 2 significant new developments that should definitely be on your radar. The Ritz-Carlton Residences McLean, which is Tyson's Corner's first Ritz-Carlton branded residences that just launched. The project is 102 units with 20-story standalone tower at 7925 West Park Drive, directly adjacent from the Ritz-Carlton Tyson's Corner Hotel and the Tyson's Galleria. The developer for this project is Renaissance Centro, a third-generation DC area firm with over 60 years in the market. Residences start at $1 million and range from 2,500 to 4,500 square feet, well above what you typically see in the luxury condo developments in this region. And this was intentional. The developer studied what the McLean and Great Falls homeowners actually need when they're ready to downsize from that 7,000 square foot estate, and the answer was space, not compromise. These buyers want single-level living with a lifestyle upgrade and not a downgrade. The amenity package is top tier. Over 15,000 square feet of private amenities, including rooftop terrace, outdoor pool, sauna, spa, yoga studio, fitness center, golf simulator, private theater, business center, co-working space, and even a pet spa. Of course, you have your 24-hour concierge, as well as valet service managed by the Ritz-Carlton trained staff. The introductory sales gallery is open right now on the 3rd floor of Tyson's Galleria with a full-scale sales gallery opening in Q2 of 2026. Construction will break ground in 2026 with a target delivery date of 2028. If you want early positioning in this branded residence project, and the data consistently shows that branded residences outperform unbranded condos by 20 to 30% at resale, this is the window. The last piece also coming to market is the Nullwood, a 24-lot custom home subdivision on what's essentially the last remaining undeveloped parcel in McLean. We're talking about lots ranging from 0.45 to 1.2 acres on tree-lined streets with sidewalks and custom-built homes on finite pieces of land. This story is wrapping up in early 2026, so if land with build-to-your-own optionality is on your list, there's a narrow window of opportunity left. Now let's talk about the food, because this is where McLean has genuinely evolved over the last few years, and I think it deserves some real attention. For years, downtown McLean residents used to have to drive up Route 123 and towards Tyson's Corner in order to get to places like Eddie V's and Capitol Grill to get to that dining scene that matched the wealth of the community. However, that dynamic is very much starting to shift, and the past 12 months have really accelerated it. The headliner right now is Soarin' Thai at 6224 East Old Dominion Drive, where a Washington food critic, Tom Siesma, who covered the DC dining scene for over 26 years before retiring in 2025, included Soarin' on his final list of 40 best restaurants for the entire DC region. That is the last list that this critic will ever publish, and McLean made it. And I can tell you, you want to be eating there. For new openings, Town just opened at 6671 Old Dominion Drive, an American neighborhood bistro from a longtime McLean resident who previously ran Greenhouse Bistro in Tyson's. The vision was simple: give McLean its own gathering place. The menu runs from smash burgers and chicken wings to proper steaks to a full craft cocktail program, approachable enough for families and polished enough for the dinner out. The classics still remain elite to this day. J. Gilbert's off of 123, which offers wood-fired steaks and seafood, is always packed no matter the day, and still one of the best steakhouses in Northern Virginia. Devon is Persian and Mediterranean, and very elegantly executed. Rated one of the top 10 restaurants in all of Virginia. Arakoja of McLean is also Afghan cuisine with serious national credentials. It is the sister restaurant to Bistro Aracoja in DC, which Forbes names one of the best 50 restaurants in the country for vegetarians. Clarity, Michelin-recognized contemporary American with a rotating tasting menu. You've got Picoteo with Spanish tapas, open kitchen, and lively energy, great for group date nights. And then you also have Tachibana, the purest sushi pick in McLean. No trends, no fusion, no theatrics, just exceptional fish done properly. Over in the Tysons region that McLean residents love to treat as their backyard, you also still have the classics, Capitol Grill, Haleo, American Prime, and Randy's Prime Seafood and Steak. The dining ecosystem here is world-class, especially when you include the full sphere of what the McLean residents have access to within just 5 or 10 minutes. One of the things that surprises relocation buyers most about McLean is how much there's actually here to do, especially for families. For kids and families, Level 99 in Tysons Corner Mall, where the old Barnes & Noble space used to be, is genuinely one of the best family entertainment experiences in the entire DC metro area. I've been there a few times myself. Dozens of challenge rooms, kids scan in with wristbands, and adults are absolutely welcome to compete as well. It's attached to the mall so you can shop while the kids play. In addition, you have places like Clementry Park, which has a carousel, multiple accessible play areas designed for kids of all ages and abilities. It's a phenomenal design. The McLean Community Center is also the hub of local life. You've got classes, camps, live music, events, and things like the Chocolate Festival and Summer in the Concert Park series. And the Alden Theater with close to 400 seats for comedy and musical performances. The McLean Project for the Arts runs camps for kids from ages 3 to the teenagers. McLean Projects for the Arts runs camps for kids from age 3 all the way up to teenager. And Dolly Madison Library goes well beyond books. Think cooking classes, art programs, improv, book clubs, and youth story time. For the out-time active lifestyle buyer, you have Scotts Run Nature Preserve and the Potomac Heritage Trail that give you awesome hiking and nature scenery without leaving the zip code. Not to mention the absolute classic, which is Great Falls Park. It sits just a few miles north with the Potomac River views that are genuinely breathtaking. I go there maybe once a month just to walk around and meditate. The private club network here is also very real. The Tahoe Recreation Club, Highland Swim and Tennis, the Hamlet, Tresterbrook, Kent Gardens, and also McLean Swim and Tennis. There are multiple options for the lifestyle that matches what buyers in this price tier are always looking for. McLean High School also sits walking distance from downtown, which gives the community something a little unusual for an area with this level of wealth, and it's that sort of small town energy. High school students walking down to grab a coffee after school, and neighbors who know each other. That contrast between old, quiet money and genuine community warmth is something that buyers consistently call out as one of McLean's most underrated qualities. The schools in McLean have been elite for over 4 decades, and that's not an accident. It's one of the core structural reasons that this zip code holds its value. About 40% of McLean households have children under 18, and all McLean schools feed into one of 2 high schools, McLean or Langley High School. Both offer extensive AP and honors coursework with dual enrollment college credit options. Both are also Fairfax County schools, which I too am also a product of Fairfax County schools. They have great school ratings across elementary, middle, and high school, all being in the 8 to 10 range. Language offerings at McLean include Spanish, French, Chinese, Latin, and German. Langley also adds Russian and Japanese. Langley was also recently renovated and sits on Georgetown Pike in a deeply residential setting. The Langley School Pipeline has been producing students admitted to top universities for generations. For families making a 10 to 20 year investment in a home, that consistency has real value, and it's reflected in every comparable transaction in this market. All right, let me close the loop on what I opened with. Everyone thinks McLean is expensive because of the mansions, but that's not the full picture. McLean is expensive because it's the only place in the DC metro area where all of these variables converge simultaneously. Irreplaceable land inside the Beltway, Fairfax County infrastructure, the CIA in your backyard and the safety that comes with it, a 40-year school track record, and a buyer who pays all cash, buys up, and rarely sells. That's not a market that corrects itself easily, and the new developments coming, i.e. the Ritz-Carlton and the Nullwood, along with the continued teardown and rebuild activity across the community, only reinforce the long-term trajectory. That isn't a market that corrects easily, And the new developments coming like the Ritz-Carlton, the Nullwood, along with the continued tear down and rebuild activity across these communities, only reinforce the long-term trajectory. If you are a relocation buyer looking at the DC metro area and you want the full package, schools, lifestyle, long-term appreciation, and an address that signals what you've built, McLean is absolutely the move. I'm Akil Atkins with the Air Group at Keller Williams. I work with high-income professionals and relocation buyers across Northern Virginia and the DC metro, Alexandria, McLean, Reston, Kingstown, and the broader market. If you're evaluating a move to this area and you want to have a real conversation with someone who knows the market at a transactional level and not just a surface level, please reach out. My contact info is below. Drop a question in the comments, subscribe for new content every week, and I'll see you on the next one.